they'd rather see a program fail than see their opponents win. The Democrats want to see the Republicans fail. Republicans want to see the Democrats fail. That's not the type of environment that's going to succeed in the long term. They flip-flop on issues. Flip-flop on issues for political gain. They ignore the data. They ignore the facts. Now, I don't care if you're a Democrat or if you're a Republican, if you like Obama. I know in this case, may probably don't, but my point is, though, is that these are it doesn't matter who is president of the United States. These are situations that aren't going to change. And people recognize that. You know, politicians fail to consider the long-term ramifications of their policies. They're only concerned about, you know, what's going to happen in the current term of office. They really don't care what goes on after that. And goodness, look what the Treasury is doing right now with the bailout. Does anyone really think that this is good for the country long term? They won't support a valid idea if it comes from the other party, because you don't want to make the other party look good. They lie outright about data, budget projections, different situations going on in the world, manipulate the news and the media, use their positions for personal gain. None of these situations are going to disappear, regardless of who's president, regardless of what party is in office. These are systemic problems that are going to exist, given the situation we have today with the two-party system, which many people call is just a one-party system, right? Failed programs can't be terminated. You know, in business, if something doesn't work, you get rid of it, right? In government, you don't, because the parties are not going to admit that they made a mistake. So you keep these programs on the books. You know, you name it. You know, No Child Left Behind. Well, we knew that program didn't work 8 years ago, and it's still on the books because the Republican Party doesn't admit they were wrong, and the Democrats don't want to admit that they voted for it. Plus, layoffs are tough. So rather than laying off your coworker because you work for the government, you keep the program going. But that's asinine. That's not what you do in business. Give misleading, confusing names to legislation, right? Tax Reform Act, Environmental Act, the Patriot Act, for goodness sake. I guarantee you that whatever they call the law, it's the opposite that they're really trying to pass and enact. They're too afraid to change their mind or admit that they're wrong. So they stay the course, even though the course looks pretty bad. They live in a separate class, completely out of touch with the voters, right? I mean, look at Washington today. I mean, that's a booming town. There's construction going on, there's spending happening. It's all deficit spending, but there's a bubble. They have no idea what really goes on in the rest of the world outside of Washington. This is a big one. Selling out to corporate interests for campaign contributions. You know, with the economy the way it is, it's not the Libertarian Party that's the only victim of slowdown in contributions. The politicians also seeing a huge decline in their revenues as well, which means they're selling out to corporate interests faster than they've ever had in the past. I mean, they don't even wait until they're no longer a congressman to become a lobbyist. They sell out while they're in office to prove that they'd be a good lobbyist. Manipulate election laws that have destroyed the election process. I mean, this has been going on for years. Redistricting, putting up barriers to prevent third parties and independent candidates from running for office. You know, the Carter administration, the Carter organization monitors elections all over the world to make sure that they're democratic. They're not allowed to monitor our elections because we don't meet fundamental democratic requirements in this country. And even the judicial branch now is becoming more political and corrupt as the stakes get higher and higher. So, how are we doing on time? We okay?
15 minutes.
Okay, good. Can you just tell me when I got like 15 minutes left? 10 minutes left? Thanks. So, I'm coming out with a book later this year. It's the first draft is written. We're going through the second draft now. And it's called Story Pollution. Now, this concept, story pollution, is something that I created, and I use this in business quite a bit. Story pollution is this phenomenon where we think things are a certain way today because those models may have been true in the past, but they're no longer true. Some good books have been written about this sort of thing, like Freakonomics and Outliers, where they look at the real causes of situations and they sort of disprove myths. Well, in the political world, we also have story pollutants. Let me run through some here. Third party, voting for a third party is a waste of vote. We hear that all the time. But really, it's the opposite that's true. Like I said before, right? It's voting for a Democrat or Republican is the wasted vote. I mean, everyone knows we need change. It's every other word that Barack Obama speaks. Well, this is better than God and freedom from the other president. But the only change that's really going to happen is from outside the system. Even Ben Franklin said that, right? Change can only come from one direction, outside. We see that in business. If you wanted to open up a restaurant, you don't open up you open up Starbucks. If you want to open a brokerage company, you open up E-Trade. Change only comes from outside the system. So as much as they want to talk about change, they love the status quo. They profit and benefit by the status quo. The last thing they want in Washington is change. They're going to keep pointing their fingers at each other until this country goes bankrupt. Just like happened in the Soviet Union. People don't care. I hear that all the time. People don't care. I don't think people care. People are furious. They just don't know they have options. I think the last election showed people care. People are blogging more than ever. People are calling to talk radio. People are writing to the editors more. People are furious. 80% of the population is paycheck to paycheck, and now we're seeing costs out of control for fundamental things like food and energy and education, healthcare. The election process is a level playing field. When Hillary Clinton said this during the debates, I threw something to TV. I can't believe this. Obviously it's not a level playing field. They don't want it to be a level playing field. There are two political parties in the United States. Now, you and I know this isn't true, but ask a high school kid or a kid in junior high how many political parties there are in the United States, and boy, you'll be very upset with what you hear.